Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of Kerbal Space Program, and the second part of our Asteroid capture slash Min mission. So like we stopped in the last episode, I'm just going to reshow the last couple of seconds where we are actually rendezvousing and grabbing the asteroid. So now, like I already mentioned in the first part, now we are going to bring that thing back to the moon. So first of all, we're going to cancel our kind of escape trajectory. That's kind of the first part of it. And the second part, we are going to raise our periapsis. So obviously our periapsis is way beyond the orbit of the moon, and then we kind of now raised our periapsis so that it's approximately something close to the orbital period. No, not really period, but just close-ish to the orbital height of the moon. Then we would downward forward to the ascending node or descending node. Quite honestly, I can't see that at the moment. The preview window is just a bit too small. Anyhow, so we're just doing a plane change maneuver in order to obviously get the planes correct, to have the same orbital plane as the moon, or in other words, pretty much the opposite of what we did in the very beginning when trying to catch the asteroid. So if you can remember, we went first into a high elliptical orbit, and then we adjusted our how's it called? Orbital plane. There we go. Just used the word and already forgot it again. So to match the orbital plane to the one from the incoming asteroid. Now we're just doing the same thing for the moon and lowering our periapsis, apoapsis at the periapsis in order to get a moon encounter. And with that, I actually skipped forward because I accidentally time warped too much, so I had to wait another orbit and decided, well, let's cut it quickly out. So and with that, we are actually in the sphere of influence of the moon, doing a capture burn, and now another burn, kind of to bring ourselves down into a closer, low moon orbit. And you guys probably seen it right now already. We have actually selected the Lunar Spaceway as a target, and for that we actually jump back to Kerbin for a new launch. So this launch has a specific reason, and so like I already said, the target that we've selected for the asteroid catcher is the space station. Exactly, it's what you think. It's exactly what you're thinking. We're going to attach the asteroid to our large space station around the moon. So, but first we need to do some preparations. And this launch here is kind of the preparation launch. But I still decided to show you, well actually, I did it obviously in this, well maybe not obviously, but I did this in this kind of order. So first parking the asteroid in a low orbit around the moon, and then launching this kind of additional craft to the space station. So the launch was pretty much, or is pretty much standard approach. Just one little thing actually. I'm going to talk about the payload in just a minute, so I'm not going to focus on that. We're going to do a direct transfer, so we're not even going to kind of do an orbit around the moon because our timing was perfect, the moon was on the horizon, so it just could continue burning prograde until we got a pretty decent encounter with the moon. And here we are at the moon doing a quick capture burn and some rendezvousing, as we've already done a couple of times here. Just first of all orbital plane change to have the same orbital plane, and then trying to catch up with the target. And with that, we are already close enough, and with that we can start talking about the payload. So first of all, reducing our relative velocity and detaching the first of 4 special grabbing units. So these small little probes, as you can see here, have on one side a grabbing, kind of a claw grabbing unit, and on the other side a docking port, and with that we're going to attach it to the space station. And like I said, we have 4 of them. But why do we have 4 of them, right? That's a good question, because you actually only need one claw grabbing unit to catch and attach more or less an asteroid. But if you can remember, if you're thinking back to the construction episode of the space station, we have attached this lower special kind of more rudimentary looking and a bit more industrial looking segment with those four additional arms on the side with movable docking ports. And this is exactly, I'm going to be very honest here, I've actually planned on doing this type of kind of attaching an asteroid to the space station already when constructing this module, so that's why we have those hinges and movable arms so that we can actually squeeze in an asteroid. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So just as a preparation, we obviously need to dock these small grabbing units on all four sides, and so we're just going to jump forward and attach all four of them. And there was actually one additional module I brought along with us, since after having built the space station, the update 1.11 came out, so there's actually an update video on the channel, so if you're interested in seeing the new things, you might as well head over to that video. But anyways, so there are new parts, especially like the now we're able, or engineers are able to attach and assemble and disassemble different parts, and you have new storage space for those parts. So this is pretty much this small little resupply vessel, and it kind of really reminds me of one of those ISS resupply vessels. So we're just bringing along a couple of small parts that we might want to use at some point in the future, and so that's why I decided to let's make this small little resupply mission in one go, because, well, having some parts, spare parts on the space station is definitely a good thing. Now jumping forward, well, to the rendezvous of the asteroid catcher and the space station, you can see us coming in here and reducing our relative velocity and already parking pretty good at a good position. However, well, now you can see it in the background, those four arms are wobbling around and quite a lot. And this is a rather, let's say, a rather annoying feature or thing that occurred throughout the entire docking process, and even after. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. After attaching the asteroid, and the Kraken really does not like having a lot of hinges and asteroids, or just generally a lot of parts and hinges together, and kind of starts messing those up, and they start behaving like, quite honestly, like as if they were in water. So I jumped back to the space station, stabilized everything, took a while, so now we jumped back to the asteroid catcher, and now we're performing kind of accelerating just a tiny bit towards the space station and waiting until it's pretty much drifting there. Then once the asteroid is closer, or well, close enough for that reason, we're using those hinges in order to, like I say, catch and squeeze the asteroid in between those four grabbing units. But I'll just let's wait just a second, because we're closing in, and now we're retracting those hinges, and we're going to connect to the asteroid in just a second. And come on. So actually connecting them was pretty easy for that matter. However, after having connected, primarily well connected with one grabbing unit, this entire thing started crackening around. You'll see that just a tiny bit in later, because I decided to cut it out because it was crackening and turning and spinning and wobbling, and I had to do actually 2 reloads until there we go, now it starts wobbling, until it stopped wobbling around. So I decided to just skip over it and show the finished process. In the meantime, actually during this wobbling session, I detached the asteroid catcher in order to, well, not have that thing swinging around as well and maybe hit something, so that's good. So after the asteroid and the arms have kind of slowed down and got into a good resting position, we were able to send the asteroid catcher to another orbit, just parking orbit in close proximity in the low moon. And with that, the space station has gotten a new segment. Even though that segment is more or less natural, it's still special. So with that being said, I really hope you've enjoyed these 2 parts. And until next time, Spaceship signing out.